Hello and welcome. My name is Brianne Austin and I'm a librarian here at Broome Library. This brief video will show you how to find and choose the databases here at Broome Library. But first, what exactly is a library database? A library database is a product the library subscribes to that contains a wide range of materials like newspapers, magazines, academic journals, and many other types of materials that you can use in your research. Think of Netflix, Prime Video, or Disney Plus. These are databases that contain movies and TV shows. Well, library databases are kind of the scholarly equivalent of those streaming services. There are a couple different types of databases you should be aware of. The first is a multidisciplinary database, which contains materials on a variety of different fields of studies. These are useful places to start your research or when you're researching a multidisciplinary topic. Popular multidisciplinary databases include Academic Search Premier and Gale Opposing Viewpoints. Reference databases are databases that basically contain reference materials, such as encyclopedias and dictionaries. This is an excellent place to get your background information on a topic that you're just beginning to learn about. The two most popular reference databases here at Broome Library are Credo Reference and Oxford Reference Online. Subject-specific databases contain materials related to one specific field of study. Two popular subject-specific databases are PsycInfo for psychology and ERIC for education. These types of databases offer more specialized search tools than a multidisciplinary database. For example, an education database like ERIC will allow you to narrow your results to materials focusing on specific school grades, while a psychology database, like PsycInfo, will allow you to narrow your results to specific age groups. However, if you are researching a multidisciplinary topic, using a subject-specific database may leave out useful materials, so that is something to keep in mind. Medium-specific databases contain specific types of materials, and this can be either multidisciplinary or subject-specific. For example, these databases can only contain newspapers, or only primary sources, or only multimedia materials. For example, the California Digital Newspaper Collection only contains newspapers. The Academic Video Online database only contains videos. So Broome Library has over 200 of these databases. While this video will go over how to locate and choose a database, it's important to understand there is no one perfect database. It's normal that you'll have to consult at least 2 to 3 different databases during your research process. Therefore, knowing how to find the right database for your research is a critical skill for researchers. There are 2 ways to find our library databases: the database's A through Z list and the library's research guides. Both methods begin on the library's main homepage here at library.csuci.edu. So let's take a moment and head on over there. All right. So here we are at the main library homepage, library.csuci.edu. The first method to finding our databases is to select the database's A through Z link on the left-hand column of the main library webpage under Research Tools. This screen provides a list of all 200 plus databases the library subscribes to, and is a good place to start if you know exactly what database you want to access or wish to browse the databases. There are 3 ways to navigate this page. The first is to simply use the search bar here on the upper right-hand side of the screen. If you know the name of the database you wish to use, simply type the name in the search bar here. So for example, if I type in PsycInfo, it's going to bring me directly to this link. If I want to go back to the full list, I can either click Clear Filters, Browse All Database, or I can hit the back button. That's important to know because once you've done one search, it'll continue to narrow down within that search, so always be sure to start over. Another way to use the search bar is to put the term you think might be in the title or description of the database. This is another way of browsing. So let's say I was writing about the Vietnam War. If I type in Vietnam War, I won't get any results because that is too specific for this type of search. But if I type in war, I'm actually going to find 6 databases that do deal with this topic. It's a nice way to find databases you might not have been aware of. But you want to be careful with this because remember, just like searching in a database, searching here is only as good as the search terms that you use. So let's say I am interested in seeing what databases the library has focusing on Black Americans. If I come back up here to the search bar, Well, first, let's make sure we clear out our databases and go back to that main screen. And I use the search term Black. I'm going to get 9 databases, most of which are dealing with African Americans or Black Americans. However, let's say I go back to the search engine and I search African American. I'm going to get 6. So always remember when you're using search terms to try synonyms to see what other words might be used in either the description or the title. So let's go back to this main database list. So now let's look at the 3 drop-down menus on this main database A through Z list. The first is subjects, and this allows you to take the 262 databases found and narrow it down by subject or major. So if you click the drop-down button, you'll see there are 100 under anthropology, 44 under applied physics. These are still quite large lists, but it is basically subject-specific databases and our multidisciplinary databases that might be of use to these specific subjects. So let's click on anthropology just to see what I mean. And it brings us down to here. So again, we're getting our multidisciplinary ones like our academic search premier, our medium specific like academic video online, but also we're going to get, if I'm just going to scroll down, Anthrosource, which is a subject specific database. So this can be a very useful tool if you, again, kind of know where you're supposed to be looking. I'm going to go back now to clear filters and look at the second drop-down menu. This is browsing by database types. And if we look at it, you'll see we have 56 databases that specialize in ebooks, 12 in dissertations, 54 in data and statistics. A really useful one are the 38 historical newspapers, so I'll select that. So if you know you are interested in finding historical newspapers, this list goes from the 200 plus to the 38 databases specific to finding historical newspapers. Again, if you know what you're looking for, this is a very useful tool. I'm going to go back and clear the filters. Here we are back at our main page. The third one you're probably not going to use as much, but just to go over, it allows you to narrow it down by the vendor, or basically the company that created the database. Again, you probably won't be using that. You'll be using mostly the search toolbar, database types, and subjects. So while using the databases A through Z link can be a little intimidating with this initial 262 number, it's also a really useful way to browse and search all of the databases. Let's move on to the second method of finding databases, the library's research guides. First, we're going to go back to the main library website, and what we'll see directly underneath the databases A through Z list is the link for our research guides. This is probably the best place to start if you're new to research or to a subject. Research guides are curated lists of resources crafted by librarians that group together library and web resources on a specific subject or topic. This main research guides page will show you all of our research guides. This includes the subject-specific guides for our majors like Africana Studies or Anthropology, as well as topical guides such as information on our affinity months like Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. However, you'll also find guides on how to de-stress with puzzles and animal cameras, as well as our citation style guide, which might be very useful during your research. If you're following along, select the research guide you feel is most relevant to your major or research topic. Remember that if you're researching a multidisciplinary topic, you might want to look at multiple research guides. For example, if you are researching student success for elementary students with learning disabilities, you should probably look at our early childhood studies and our psychology research guides. Let's look at the anthropology guide since it's at the top here. When you first get to a research guide, you'll see a series of navigational tabs. Here, they're on the left. Sometimes they're at the top. Now, all of the research guides are going to look a little bit different, but there will be some commonalities. All of them will have a tab for databases. When you select it, it's going to bring you to the page with a list of specific databases a librarian has chosen for your guide. So anthropology is incredibly multidisciplinary. So this list is a little bit longer than some of the other ones. But as you can see, if we scroll down, we have the 4 top databases for anthropology, and then we have specific ones for images, And then we have more databases, but they are divided up to specific subfields: biological, sociocultural, archaeology, linguistics, and then related databases to the field that might be useful. So again, all of your majors or broader research areas should be covered within this field of research guides. And this concludes our video. I hope you found this video helpful and that you now feel more comfortable finding and selecting your databases in your research. If you need any further help or have questions on which database to use, do not hesitate to reach out to any of us here at Broome Library. Remember, you can access us 24/7 with our chat service. You can call us, email us, or schedule a one-on-one appointment.